So, we're back again. In other words, we've got more foot and ankle injuries. This week, sticking with the NFL, we've got the San Francisco 49ers. In this particular instance, they've been a pretty snake-bitten franchise, but this time let's talk about their tight end, top tight end of the league, George Kittle, Jimmy Garoppolo, pretty good quarterback. Let's start off with George Kittle's injury. George Kittle runs a great corner route. Cornerback sinking under the route. Safety's over the top in cover two. Kittle jumps up, catches the ball. And as he's catching the ball, his foot spontaneously hits the ground in this manner. Now, when it hit the ground in this manner, you have a tendon that runs along the inside of your foot and inserts right there at the navicular tuberosity. I believe that George Kittle, without seeing his x-rays, of course, and purely off mechanism of injury and conjecture, believed that he had what we call a navicular tuberosity avulsion fracture of the posterior tibial tendon. So I think what Kittle's going to try to do, so what happens is this tendon runs along the inside of the ankle and then spontaneously hits the ground like that, and it pulls so hard at that bone that it pulls a little chip off that bone. Now, I think what Kittle's going to try to do is he's going to try to let the pain and swelling calm down for a couple of weeks. The 49ers are going to put him on IR. This year, IR is only 3 weeks as opposed to the customary 6 weeks as it's been in years past. And IR's 3 weeks this year because of the COVID, obviously. But I believe they're going to put him on IR. He's going to let some of that swelling calm down and pain calm down. He's going to try to avoid the surgery, and he's going to try to come back. What happens is the particular mechanism of injury with high ankle sprains, especially with Jimmy's high ankle sprain, is what we call a pronation external rotation injury. Now, what happens is with high ankle sprains, the difference between a high ankle sprain and a regular ankle sprain is a regular ankle sprain, you're looking at more of collateral ligaments, the ligaments that attach to this bone to the foot. High ankle sprains, you have injury to the little small ligament that attaches the tibia to the fibula here at the distal ankle, right close to the joint. But where the real instability kicks in is when you start to have an injury to the syndesmosis. So what happened with Jimmy is he had what we call a pronation external rotation injury. So Jimmy had his foot planted and somebody landed on his leg, which caused his foot to pronate and externally rotate. And that causes separation. That causes separation at the syndesmosis, which is just proximal to the ankle. When you lose the integrity of the syndesmosis, it causes spreading of these two bones, the tibia and the fibula, and causes a lot of instability at the ankle joint. Now, what happens is the reason why you have difficulty playing is because you have a loss of stability, but more importantly, you have a loss of proprioception. So leading up, after Jimmy came back, probably prematurely, he's a quarterback, he's the general of the team, he's trying to lead his troops, and the 49ers are just coming off the Super Bowl last year, and they still have a really good team. So, he's trying to come back early, he's trying to do his due for the team. He's a $125 million man, so of course, that comes with the territory. So you could see Jimmy trying to plant that back foot, and he just let it off the ground, right? So he'd do his drop. We're going to use this to do Jimmy's drop. He'd do his drop, and he'd plant, but he'd let it off the ground. So he was spraying footballs all over the place when he initially came back because he couldn't plant. In other words, you lose your proprioception, you lose how you feel the ground, you lose being able to abruptly move and dart and avoid things. So eventually it caught up to him. Jimmy got re-injured, and what happened was, again, same injury, but I think he had a bigger tear to this syndesmosis. And with that, they're saying that he's probably going to need surgery. And The surgery in this particular instance would be what we call a tightrope. So with athletes in the tightrope, you would put a little plate here and you'd have two wires that would attach to the tibia on this side. That tightrope keeps this syndesmosis intact. So when he dorsiflexes, now he's gonna have a little bit more stability there. Unfortunately, with that injury, it's probably gonna put him down for the season. Now you do have instances where guys do get the tightrope surgery and they come back and play. For instance, Tua Tagovailoa, who was the junior at Alabama his last year, he had the tightrope surgery and he came back and played. Actually, that was his sophomore year. His junior year, he went down with the hip fracture, the hip fracture dislocation. But so that you can try to come back and play, but I think in Jimmy's case, I think that's going to put him down for the year. So those two guys, two different foot and ankle injuries. Unfortunately, this video was longer than the last one. I really want to keep them short and succinct. But snake bitten franchise, tough year. Injuries, they happen, especially with the turf monster. And the turf monster, not really in Kittle's case, but in Jimmy's case, came back to bite him. So speedy recovery to both guys, man. Hopefully they can bounce back and sometimes they're going to try to fight through it, but I think in this particular instance that this surgery is the final prognosis, whether it's now or whether it's at some point in the off season. So I see you guys again. Latif Nuruddin, based out of Houston, Texas, Bayou City Foot and Ankle. Nice to see you guys again.